Hey everyone, Paul at ISM. Welcome to another car modelling technique series. So hey everyone, as I just said, welcome to another car modelling technique series. So we did the Subaru car technique series 4 years ago. Can you believe that was 4 years ago? I used Tamiya's 99 Subaru WRC, went through stage by stage on each video, my techniques for building a model. So we concentrated on priming, painting, prep, everything along the way. I've also done another one which I look at as like a beginner's one. We did the yellow RX-7, which we did all with spray cans. So for me, that was a beginner's tutorial. So people haven't got an airbrush, invested a lot of money. Is that I look at the Subaru as kind of intermediate. So it's basically that kit was out the box really, bar seatbelts, if I remember right. I don't think there was anything else in there at all. This one today, I don't really call it advanced because I don't think it's advanced, but it's a step up from the intermediate. So with this kit, we're going to have a look through in a minute. Built this kit many times. It's Beemax's E30 M3. It's my favourite model kit. I built 10 already. We've got a detail upset for it. We've got aftermarket resin wheels for it. We've got aftermarket decals for it, mass set, and we're going to modify the bodywork a touch, not a lot. And I'm going to go through with a more up-to-date run-through of how I do things. Some of it will have changed back end. Some of the materials used, paint, tools used will have changed. Techniques have probably changed along the way. Hopefully I've got improved cameras, lighting, etc. And we can get a full build series on this excellent kit. It's one of my top 20 kits. And hopefully give a few more tips along the way. So that's the plan. I'm going to break down each video into the stages. So today we're going to deal with bodywork prep. There's quite a lot to do on this, so that's why it's quite a long video. Next one will be painting, priming, then painting, decaling, and so on. I'm going to break them up into sections I think will prove useful, and we'll work our way through the series. That way you always go, if you're struggling with priming, you can go to that particular video and watch it. And that's it. That's how we're going to do it. So a few things have changed in this one. I've got a little bit of waffle, so stick with me. Intro's gone. I've got a new intro. Really short one. Quick. Straight to the point. You know who I am if you watch me. You know what the channel is because the name's there. And you know what I do. So there's no need for the big 25-second intro every time. Quick, simple intro is done. I'm going to try and keep the videos a bit shorter. That was one recommendation I got when asking for feedback on the videos. So I'm going to try and keep them to the under 30-minute mark. This one's going to be a bit longer because we're going through the kit today and I've got a lot to explain at the beginning like now. Uncluttered background. We're now going to work on a black background and try and keep everything off there and keep it a much cleaner working area. It looks much better on camera. I've already seen the footage from today. That's what we're going to do. And yeah, that is it. As I say, these go on early release for patrons. It was 2 weeks. It's going to a month, roughly, because I'm releasing videos on a Wednesday and a Saturday on ISM now. With this series being so content heavy, it's probably going to push that early release out to like a month easily. So if you like early access, you become a patron down below. You get exclusive video builds. You get early access on the builds of up to a month. There's loads of videos on backlog waiting to go on ISM. You get to a patron exclusive Facebook group, Facebook Messenger chat, exclusive monthly live stream, get to vote on builds, vote on colour, just things like random, and you keep me in these videos because without your support I couldn't do this. So that's it. They're the things that have changed a little bit. So if you're watching in a month's time and thinking, why do you still got Christmas decorations up? You know why. Anyway. So I've been looking forward to doing this one. It's one of my favourite kits. We're going to do it in the Listerine Wilhoy E30 1991 car. And we're going to start off the video by going through the box, have a quick recap of what we've got. If you're all looking at a review of the kit, there's several on the channel. I'll put links in the description down below. You can go and have a look. It's a fantastic kit. I highly recommend it to everybody. And this is a scheme I've wanted to do for a long time. There we are. So thanks for listening to all the spiel. I do apologise, but it's important stuff that we need to get out there. If you've got any questions or comments about this, the techniques guides or anything going forward, please let me know in the comments down below. Let's crack on and go look what we get in the box. Okay, so let's see what we got in the box. So, have reviewed this kit before, the reviews on the channel, you want to go back and have a look. But we've got clear parts, which are always pretty good in these kits. Bonnet separate, front rear bumper separate, wing mirrors obviously separate as well. Exhaust parts are on there, lower splitter, seat, etc. We've got the wheels, which we're not going to be using on this car because this car has Beemax on it. We've got the body, very clean body, very minimal cleanup required on the body. And then we've got the chassis, the interior, roll cage, brakes, steering wheel, etc in there as well. Tyres are there, we've got some mesh and the poly caps for the hubs as well. Got the kit decals and the chrome parts. Now, fun fact, this is the 11th time I've built this kit and I've still not done the box art yet. So fun fact, and the chrome parts as well for the lights and the call out for the original decal scheme of Steve Soper's car. So yes, never done that scheme, really need to do it at some point. Instructions are here, very clear and concise. You got all your do's and don'ts, your colour call outs, glass placement there as well. Glass goes in from the outside on this, which is good and bad, depending how you look at it. Got the chassis, running gear, differential, suspension, braking system, etc. there as well. Got optional parts there in dark grey for the detail upset. To come with a detail upset that comes as separate. We have that. We'll go through that in a minute. And assembly is really quick, really easy. It is literally my favourite model kit. This is the 11th time I've built it, as I've said. And it goes together really well. It's got a few little niggles on it. Mostly the bonnet fitment's a bit naff, but we can fix that quite easily, as I'll show you in a little bit. But just pay attention. If you don't have any aftermarket, ignore all the darker grey areas. If you do, you need to pay attention to it as well. So this is a detailed upset for this kit. So in it is a fretted PE. You get some seatbelt material, the antenna, and I think it's the emergency cut-off button, if I remember right, in there. So a single fretted PE. On there we've got our brake discs, we've got our window wipers, we've got our bonnet catches, we've got seat belts, etc. We've got the antenna in there, which won't be used on this. I think there's an emergency switch off button in there too. As I said, wheels, we've got the Beemax wheels. These are from KMP. So these are specific to this car and the Labatt car as well. So not cheap wheels at all. They cost me about £30 odd, if I remember right, delivered. But they are very nice wheels and suitable for this car. We've got a window mask set. This is from, I forget who made this now, but it's not a 01. So it does come off. It sticks on really well. And the decal sets. Now we've got the Studio 27 Listerine Omega decal sets. I have two of them because I went for a stage that if I could get two sets, I'd buy two sets because decals go out print really quick. So always handy to have a spare set on a scheme you're really eager to do, and I have two. It looks a pretty simple scheme. Most of it is painting, as you can see here in the pictures. So I've got a whole range of pictures here I picked up off the internet. Some are pretty poor quality. We've got Will Hoy's wins there. There's the car itself, beautiful blue. You can see there we've got a mask off all the upper part of the front wing, the bonnet, across the A, B and C pillar, and over the back bumper and onto that lower skirt at the back as well. So we're going to have to be clever how we paint this. There are decals to go through the demarcation, which is always good. Some of these are genuine car, I think some of these are copy. But yes, this is what we're going to do. It's a lovely scheme, beautiful blue. There we go, there's a proper car. As you can see, we've got fuel fillers either side of the C pillar as well, so we need to take that in account. This is the car not long after it had been on fire in one of the races, and it's been put out. We've got the Beemax wheels here as well. Nice reference picture there. Great looking wheels. Centre locks as well. And the man himself, Mr. Will Hoy, in car. Very good shot of the back of the seat as well. And the car on the racing line. Now, one thing that is noticeably different, and I'll show it a little bit, is this car has a side exit exhaust. It comes out driver's side just near the back end. So we need to take that into account in a bit when we're looking at the kit. But some great shots from the early 90s BTCC, bumper to bumper racing, Probably some of the best motorsport racing ever, in my opinion. Onto the kit. So we cut off the rear bumper, the bonnet's been cut off, ready for cleanup. So we need to get these prepped, ready for paint. Some are going to be attached, some aren't. So we've got the rear spoiler, which has that big lip on the back, which we're going to cut off. We don't need it on this car. The front bumper, which we're going to leave as a separate part, because as those pictures showed, it was all blue. The masking goes around it. And the wing mirrors as well, which we're going to leave mounted to the sprue to make the painting easier. So onto that side exit exhaust. I'm going to put the chassis in place temporarily. Very, very positive fit on the chassis. It locates into that slot at the back and then 2 at the front. Very, very positive fitment. It is almost the perfect model kit, this. And that's the reason why it's one of my favourites. It's a nice, quick, easy build. So with the chassis in, I'm looking at online references of those pictures we just looked at. If you look at the back of the car, on the lower skirt, just where the black stripe meets the white and blue, you can see the exhaust. So that's where we need to put it. I've got a closer shot here. There it is. Nice side exit exhaust, just on the one side, on the driver's side. So we are going to mark it up. Sorry, the passenger side, isn't it? Not the driver's side. We're going to mark it up with a pen, roughly where we want it. And then we've got a burr in my battery-powered rotary tool. And we're going to very lightly remove the material we need it. So a careful, steady hand is needed here. Don't go too mad to begin with. Just take your time, go through it slowly. There's no need to go absolutely crazy. And we're just going to go through it slow and remove it from the outer part of the body shell first, and then we'll do the chassis later on. But I'm just removing a little bit at a time, removing the excess material so we can see what we're doing as we go. We want to remove it without melting if we can, so slow and steady is the way to go here. This battery powered tool off Amazon is fantastic. They are £20. It is absolutely immense. It has quite a bit of power, 3 speed settings, quite a bit of torque as well for a battery powered one. It's rechargeable, and yeah, I highly recommend getting one. I should have a link in my Amazon store, linked in the description down below. If it's not there, give me a shout and I'll find a newer link for you. But it's perfect for this because it's not too powerful. You can slow the speed right down on the first setting, and it's very controllable as well. Very, very good for the money, really is. Like I said, it's going to slowly eat away at this material, checking it out, removing bits of excess plastic as we go until we're happy we've got the shape how we want it and we're as deep as we need to go. But take a bit off, have a look, take a little bit more off, have a look, because you can always take more off, you can't put it back on. So just really take your time, and if you're not sure, well, you don't have to do the side exit. You can always do the rear exit if you wanted. We're also going to have to fabricate the exhaust as well at some point, which is going to be fun, but we'll deal with that later on down the line. So yeah, get rid of most of the material right to our pen mark, just gently removing it, and then once you're happy with the depth, refine the shape and get that to where you want it. So clean it up, have a look, put it back down if you need to for a minute, but we're just going to clean it up now and try and get a nice half moon shape in there. And once you're happy, leave it be. Don't go too far. Don't go too crazy. Like I say, start removing any swarf, anything that's in the way, and just refine that shape until you're fully happy with it. And there we go. That's about it, really. It's probably as good as we're going to get. It looks good. Like I say, we're going to have to make our own exhaust later on. So I'm not sure what we'll use it. We'll use some aluminium tubing or some plastic hard tubing or solder and drill it out. I don't know yet. We'll have to have a look at later on, but that's something we can deal with further on down the line. Once we've done the exterior, I'll pop the chassis back on, and I'm using where I've already grooved it out as a template. I'm just going to mark out where it needs to go, and then we'll take the chassis back off and get rid of the rest of the material gently as before as well. Again, we're not going too mad. We just want to remove that nice little half moon shape just as we did on the sill. See, different kind of plastic on the black material. It melts a lot quicker. So you really need to take your time. Just keep removing the excess plastic and just keep working at it until you're happy. There we go. Once you're happy with the shape, I've got a nice Sujiburito file, but any half moon file will do. And I'm just going to refine it, smooth it all out, get rid of any excess plastic or sharp edges, and just file it, sand it until we're happy it's nice and smooth. Bonnet, we're going to remove all the excess sprue connector points with our Tamiya snips. There we go. And then we grab a 240 UMP thinny stick and remove any excess plastic from there as well. Now, the bonnet is probably the worst bit of the kit, and it's not even that bad. It has 4 locating points. There are 4 locating holes in the bonnet where it sits. If you use locating holes, it sits to the left too much and leaves a big gap down the right hand side. Having built 10 of these already, it's an easy fix. You just need to widen the holes. So we'll deal with that in a second. Now, the kit comes with molded in bonnet pins. There's 3 on the front, 2 on the back. We need to remove those. Pretty easy to do. We've got a 240 sander, and we're just going to work at it gently until it's gone. So it's a case of nice, slow, steady sanding. Once you're happy it's gone, move on to the next one and just sand away until you're happy. So you can go through all various grits of sander, starting at like 240, 400, 800, 1200, and then the buffer. To be honest, I've stopped using the buffer on the cars. I actually do want a bit of texture on the surface, which is why I tend to rough up with a 3000 grit sponge at the end. So there's no point getting it to a high shine and taking it back again. So I'm just going to use the thinny sticks of various courses until I'm happy. And then once we've gone through them all, I'm going to grab some 3000 grit sponge sander. Tamiya makes a great one. And we're just going to key all the surface so it's even. And this is the sponge sander I'll use to key the surface for primer later as well. Now you key the surface to have micro scratches to it. This helps any primer adhere properly. It's what full-size body shops do, even to plastic bumpers. And if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. I do it on every single car I build. I never had any paint peel off. I never had anything pull off with decals or with masking tape. So if it works, I'm going to keep doing it. Rear spoiler, again, as we did with the bonnet, we're going to clean up the sprue locator points just by trimming them off with our Tamiya sprue cutters. And then this back end lip, which I think is carbon on the DTM cars, if I remember right, we need to remove this. You can get a standard spoiler out the spoiler by just using your snips and cutting along it till it's gone and then sanding it smooth. It's quite simple. I'm going to speed this up just to, well, it's about 2 minutes of cutting. A little bit boring, so I'm going to speed it up. Just trim. You could razor saw it if you wanted, but to be honest, it's quite difficult to get in close with a razor saw. So I like to just trim the excess off and then get in a little bit closer with the cutters. And then we're going to grab our 240 thinny stick from UMP and just sand away until we've got a nice smooth edge. And then we'll hit it again with that 3000 grit sponge to get it all nicely rounded off and to key it again for primer. So nicely and easy to do this, not too difficult. Again, if you're not confident in doing it, you can leave the spoiler be if you're not bothered 100% about accuracy. But the BTC car didn't run that lip on the spoiler, so it's up to you if you leave it on. It's not the end of the world if you do, but it's easy enough to get rid of using the kit parts. There are aftermarket body set kits out there that do have the lower spoiler. I've not seen one for quite some time now, and I did have one a while back and it wasn't the best. So for me, this is the easier, cheaper solution. Take your time, don't trim too much off, and it'll be just fine. And like I say, when you're finished with the sander, get your 3000 grit, round off the edges ever so slightly, and then key the surface for primer. Basically the same technique all around. Just a few things to finesse on this kit to get it where you want it. Obviously, if you're doing a DTM car, you'd more likely leave that on. The fit is perfect on the spoiler. I would advise leaving it off to paint. It's up to you if you want to glue it in place now. It just makes polishing, masking and that easier later on. Front rear bumper, we're going to clean up exactly the same. Cut off the sprue locator points as close as we can. And then the 240, 400, 800 thinny sticks. And that 3000 grit sponge to clean it all up ready. Standard procedure all over really. It's what I do. But you need to pick and choose depending on the kit you're doing what you will glue on and what you won't. So that's up to you to figure that out by your instructions. Right, we've got the strengthening sprue points now to cut off. So there's 2 in the bonnet, 2 in the front windscreen and 2 in the rear. We're just going to snip those off and then we'll clean them up with our thinny stick. Nice and simple and easy to do. There we go, pretty simple. We also need to cut off that little, I think it's a light beacon on the roof. I think it is, isn't it, for the DTM cars? Because the BTC cars didn't have those either. And like I say, we've got a UMP 240 thinny stick, and we're just going to remove those sprue points nice and easy. Don't take a lot of sanding at all. Just be careful you don't reprofile anything or go too crazy. Doesn't need a lot of pressure at all. Just keep checking with your finger until you're happy they're gone. Like I say, we're going to take this off. So I'm going to cut it. Don't go right to the surface. I've done that before and it leaves a little divot in the roof you've then got to fill. If you leave a bit sticking out, you can just sand it like we did with the bonnet pins and just gently sand it away till it's smooth. It's the easiest way to do it. That way you've got no filling to do, no holes. You can see on the boot lid, we've got those 2 pins there as well to remove. So exactly the same treatment for those. We'll give them a sand down later. And there we go. Once we've got rid of that, we'll key the surface with our 3000 sponge. And while you're doing this, just be careful of any edges or raised areas you want to keep, because it will reprofile it quite quick and we don't want to change the shape of the car. In my opinion, the car shape is absolutely perfect. A lot better than Fujimi's effort, because Fujimi's 3 Series E30 is all kinds of wrong. It's a horrendous body shape on the E30 from Fujimi. This one seems to be absolutely spot on to me. So like I say, we get rid of those rear bonnet pins. There is a seam that runs down the side of the boot lid and the back of the boot lid as well. And then just at the top of the A pillar is a seam. I don't think there's one on the C. I can't remember now, to be honest, but there's very minimal cleanup on this kit because the bumpers are slide molded and separate. There's no seams on them, but the seam will run up from back to front. So check a few areas. You may find a little bit of a seam around the windows or around the front wings on the inside edge of the bonnet, just there where I'm standing now. So just give it a light sand to take the sharpness off it and just have a good look round and make sure you haven't missed anything. Now, rescribing, again, something you don't have to do, but I always think it does help. It's something I've only just started doing recently. These Holly sanders are my favourite. We used to sell these at UMP, we don't anymore. But use whatever, did I say sanders? I meant rescriber. This Holly rescriber is the one I'm most comfortable with. You use the one you're most comfortable with, because the worst thing you can do is slip, because you're going to put a mark in the body and you've then got to clean that up or you'll see it through your paint. But it's good to deepen the panel lines just a little bit, just add a little bit of depth, and it can also get rid of any excess plastic. These are really clean. I've got more into a habit of doing it on the resin kits, but it does no harm and it does accentuate the panel lines just that little bit more, especially when we put a wash in it later on. It'll look a lot better. Now the bonnet, this is how it comes in the kit and it fits on beautiful. As you see, it just fits too far left. It's not as noticeable there, but it will be when you paint it, trust me. So there's 4 locating holes inside. Can you see them? Just there. We're just going to use a drill bit ever so slightly bigger than it, just to widen them. And that way we can push the bonnet to the right a touch. Doesn't need moving over a lot, only a little bit. Now, the bonnet sits perfect now, but in my opinion, it sits too low at the front. It sits below the edge of the wing. So we're going to use some plastic strip. I use Plastruct. You can get evergreen, or you could use scrap plastic, stretch sprue, whatever you've got at hand. And we're going to cut some slithers of some slightly thicker material and then some thinner one to add on top. I'm just going to glue this in place under the bonnet on the front valance, or the slam panel, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to get some Tamiya Extra Thin. This is my Extra Thin Plasti Weld mix, which I have a video elsewhere on the channel of me mixing. And just put a little dab there. And then pop our little tiny strip of plastic into the glue. There we go. And then we'll test fit the bonnet, and it's still going to sit a touch too low. Just needs to go up a little bit more. So yeah, still a little bit of a lip there. So I'm just going to move it forward a touch. Like so. It was just sitting in a little recess there. And it's moved it up a little bit. Still a bit of a ridge, so we just need the thinnest slither of plastic. So we'll pop the other one on the other side for now. Then with the exact same width of material, we're going to add slightly thinner material. Does that make sense? It's the same width and length, but it's a thinner material. We're just going to add a couple of tiny pieces on top of each of these pieces. It's about half the width, thickness of the original piece, so it'll just lift it up enough to take a flush. Like I say, this is the only real flaw on the kit I can think of. Everything else is brilliant. The rear spoiler obviously depends on the variant of the car that you're doing, and the glass going in from the outside, yeah, I do prefer glass that goes on the inside, but it's not the end of the world. And like I say, this is a nice simple fix. Oh, the bonnet's sitting nice and centralised now. It's just sitting ever so low of that wing, so I think another strip of the very thin stuff will do just fine. 2 of the originals were too thick. I already tried that. So 2 of these on top of the original is the perfect width then. So just a little dab of glue on top and glue it in place. Like I say, it'll vary on kit to kit. So just check it and just keep adding it where you require it. There we go. We'll just test fit that now. And absolutely perfect. It sits centralised in its point. Sits absolutely perfect on the wings. Very simple modification. Fixes a slight flaw. And it looks a lot better than it did before. So there we go. Nice, simple, easy fix. And like I say, near enough free. Doesn't really cost anything. You could use scrap plastic if you wanted, stretch sprue, anything you've got to hand spare. And then once we've got it where we want it, we're going to put a little dab of glue there, let the capillary reaction carry itself around. Don't go crazy with the glue and keep your fingers off the other side. You don't want any capillary reaction to carry it through and ruin all your hard work. And then just on those little bonnet points there, and then we're going to flip it over, make sure we're still sat centralised, which we are. The glue's taking hold of it now. And we just put a little bit underneath as well. Rear bumper, we're going to glue in place. So we've got a couple of dabs of the Tamiya white glue. If you're not in the UK, I think it's the orange lid is the equivalent. On the locator points for it, we're just going to pop it in place. Let the glue take hold for a few minutes until we glue in the side pieces. So just hold it there for a minute. Fitment's really good, but the one thing you need to be careful of on this is holding the bumper while you glue, that none of the glue carries through. It's happened to me many times. Very easily done. So keep your finger away from where the glue will go through and don't put too much glue on the brush. Just enough to get the capillary reaction to carry it through. Looks like I'm putting loads on. I'm not. I'm hardly putting any glue on there at all. Hold that and then spin it round to make sure it is. Don't press on it because you get molten plastic squeeze out of the seam and it ruins the look of the bumper. And exactly the same on the other side. You don't need lashings of glue. Just enough to capillary it around the join. There we go. Front bumper, like I say, we're going to leave this off and just test fitting it. It's absolutely perfect, so we'll deal with that later. There's a grille to go behind there too. And as you can see on the real car, the front bumper is all blue. And above it is black along the front of the bonnet and up that upper wing. So it'll make masking a little bit easier for me. Mounting parts for paint now. So we've got a multi-tool again with a 0.5mm drill bit in. Drill a hole into the sprue of the mirrors. The front bumper, we're going to use a cocktail stick for now. Because what we'll do is, once we've got it all painted and masked, we'll glue the bumper on before 2K. So it just needs to be temporarily mounted. So we're just going to trim a cocktail stick so it gives us enough presence to be able to paint the bumper properly. Like I say, the mirrors, we'll drill the hole in the sprue and we'll stick a cocktail stick. I'll actually change this later on and cut the sprue off and held it with a crocodile clipped stick. in the end. Don't know why I changed my mind, but it did. And the rear spoiler, we use a bulldog clip on it, locating the holes on the back just to hold it in place. As long as it's secure and doesn't fall over, we're all good. And before we do anything else, we're gonna sand all the surface again to make sure we've got a nice even key everywhere. Preparation is everything in your paintwork. It really is. Once we're done, we can get our little Mickey Mouse toothbrush and get rid of any dust from all the seam lines. Again, another important stage. We give it a blow with the airbrush before we go with any paint as well. And then some UMP airbrush cleaner or airbrush cleaner or cleaner of your own choice. IPA based is better. We're going to wipe over the entire surface and remove any contaminants like fingerprints, any residue left behind from the moulding process, which there very rarely is now. And that's it. We're ready for primer in the next video. So there we are, that's where we're at today. So that is all prepped now, ready for primer. A little bit of work there, but you don't have to modify stuff and change things. It's such a quick kit to work on. It really is. There's only a couple of seams on the actual body itself. Cleanups are really, really easy. You don't have to rescribe. You don't have to do a lot of the things I did in the video. But as we are aiming this past the intermediate modeler to more advanced, I think it's important things to look at, and it's things I never used to do. I never used to rescribe. Quite often that side exhaust will be like, oh, I'll just use the kit one, stick it out the back. And is that lazy modelling? Tough question, isn't it? It's up to you to decide whether it's worth doing that stuff. For me, on my part, quite often it was lazy modelling. I didn't want to have to modify things. I just wanted a kit to build. But as things progress, I want more and more accuracy in my kit if I can do it. So this is where these techniques come in. If you choose to use them, fine. If you don't, you can build it out of the box and crack on. So there we go. So that's bodywork prep. We are all ready for primer now. So that'll be the next video that's going to be up. If you're a patron, the videos are just going to be uploaded when they're done. So they might be uploaded every day, every other day. It's just the way it works on Patreon. I want the videos uploaded so I know that they're there and safe, if that makes sense. If you're watching this on ISM, you're probably watching ahead about a month. They go uploaded on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and I'll try and do them in blocks of 2 or 3 because we have the Modification Hero build starting in January as well, which you'll see in February. It's going to get confusing, this, I know. But I'm going to try and block them together so you get BMW, 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 and I'm not breaking it up with different builds all the time because that was more feedback I got. So there we go. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of the improvements, especially the overhead camera shot. Is it better on the black background? It looks better to me. It looks clearer and more in focus. And let me know your thoughts on the build. And that's it. That's where we're at today. So thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support me, there's a Patreon link down below, a Buy Me a Coffee link, and a PayPal Me link as well. Links to everything else down below, including links to review this kit. I'll put the original Subaru build series down there as well. There's links to all the products I use that you'll see in these videos. And there's links to everything related to me. ISM, UMP, the group builds, Off Air Hangout group, the Live at the Bench page. My own personal Poor ISM modelling page is there as well. And yeah, that's it. Make sure you sub to the channel, click the bell notification, click the thumbs up as well. And if you want to leave a comment, please leave a comment down below. Love hearing all your feedback and thoughts. And there we go. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.